I would like to introduce Lynn Peemoeller, who is giving us a talk on eating the Anthropocene. Lynn is a food systems planner who blends expertise in the natural sciences, urban planning, policy, agriculture, food activism, and the arts, so even wider range of activities. She works on national and international projects through food systems planning and is a lecturer at Washington University. She engages the power of food to bring people together and as an agent for social change. So, please, Lynn.
So, the merging of art and science is something that the Anthropocene project has strived towards from the very beginning at HKW in Berlin. So today, I'd like to share with you some slides from the opening event of the Anthropocene in 2013. At the time, I was working with Raum Labor, the Berlin-based social architecture collaborative. St. Louisians might remember them from their 2017 Space Buster tour, which occupied quite a lot of spaces in St. Louis. The quote, "We Like America" tour. Maybe some of you got to see that. For the Anthropocene opening, I played the role of culinary director, kind of research and development and oversight for a project called the Metabolic Kitchen. And the project was essentially a performative theater of food inside HKW during the 3-day opening. As the food was prepared, focus was shifted from the physical form of the food to its experiencing through the processing process. So here we utilized, the theme came from utilizing an entire cow. It started roasted on a spit on the rooftop of HKW. And from there, it was disassembled, and it made its way kind of vertically and horizontally through the space, and this is inside the institution, into 4 different distinct stations. By converting the cow from one medium to the next and processing it into altered versions of itself, we were able to performatively introduce a metabolic step into the kitchen. And we also pureed pizza, but I'll get to that in a moment. The kitchen itself consisted of 4 distinct platforms, starting with the slide and moving towards the moving that roasted cow from the rooftop, cutting through space. This is the puree disassembly station. We had the steaming station, the hot kitchen, and after that, ingredients made their way to the montage station, and finally, to the distribution station. So, what did we make? Oh, eat at your own risk. Many of you might remember that. So what we tried to do was take 4 kind of these foods that represented, first of all, what we could do with the cow, and second of all, how we could represent different, portray different kinds of foods. So the hamburger, through a highly controlled and mechanized procedure, and the cow was deconstructed. The meat puree came from the cow. It underwent a deconstruction in order to be recognized in a reformatted format, which we actually served in jars. The second thing we made was labskaus, which is actually kind of like the original hangover food from the Hanseatic region, it's a Hamburg-type dish, sailor's dish. And this is essentially just the most pureed you can get with a cow, mixing in things like beets and onions and served with fish and an egg. We took the bones from the cow and we turned them into a bouillon. And the bouillon was actually frozen over the course of several days. So what we had to do was saw off pieces of that bouillon, and we made Rindsuppe mit Frittaten, which are little pancakes another traditional dish. So again, following the deconstruction of the cow to many different formats. And then finally, we took pizza and we actually pureed it at that puree station. So there's the picture of what the hamburger looked like and the soup, which then you had to microwave in order for the bouillon to become an actual soup. And there is the pizza being pureed. The spatial layout of the kitchen revealed a process of deconstruction and reassembly of food that alludes to the co-evolution between human and machine. Throughout human evolution, people have relied on food that has undergone some sort of processing, from highly primitive means involving rocks and stones to highly precise computerized technology in order to keep us alive. Processing begins the progression of deconstruction and mastication of nutrition that's required for human digestion. And through these processes of form and format become changed so much that the recognition of the original source of nutrition is often completely altered. Metabolism is the everyday, inescapable process of transforming food into life. As a design movement, it gave agency to the architecture of a city to keep growing, reproducing, and transforming like a living organism in response to the environment. As an art form, the metabolic kitchen touches on some aspects of the Anthropocene by allowing us to witness and experience the real-time transformation of food in which humans, plants, animals, and machines are all integral to the continuation of life. So that was 2013. Today, my practice in social engagement deals with aspects of constructing and co-producing meaning through food encounters, where the artist is conceived less as an individual producer of discrete objects, but rather as a collaborator of produced situations. What matters are the ideas, experiences, and possibilities that result from these interactions. So for example, I'm currently finishing a year-long project with an artist group in Cyprus that uses wheat as a symbol, bread as food, and dough as a material to address themes of place through identity, division, and transnationalism in the divided city of Nicosia. If you don't know, Cyprus is an island in the Levant region, that border of the Mediterranean, that has been occupied by Turkey since 1974. It is and the city of Nicosia is a highly contested space. So through this process, working with a group of artists, we visited old and new sites. So for example, this site here was a bread, wheat and dough laboratory with the company Mercedes, which is the oldest and largest wheat and pasta producer on the island, and exporter on the island of Cyprus. And there we went to a small rural village that's still cooperative, where farmers bring their wheat to be milled for their own personal consumption. By collectively participating, we place learning together on a trajectory with enacting and interpreting these traditions through performance. And in these moments, we hold the past present while defining ourselves. So what did we do? So here, Serge and Alina used bread dough, and the dough, actually, to talk about touch and textural experience. Rebecca made a cast of these city markers, and what she did was she used that to stamp the bread in the Greek Orthodox tradition of stamping breads for church and for other symbolic events. Leah staged a performance with 4 generations of women in her family as the breadwinners, and actually folded money into the bread during the performance. Maria inserted wisps of philosophy and poetry into her bread. And Georgia embedded a pomegranate in her bread as a symbol of life and fertility. So what a better way to encounter ourselves in the Anthropocene than through food? Food enables us to identify with the human condition. So I'm pleased to be working with HKV again, and such a great team of Max Planck scientists as we develop a project that we will be working on up until October. And based on everything that we've been talking about today, I think of it as the original paleo diet. So our plan over the next few months is to generate engagement in past, present, and future thinking about the place we call home on the Mississippi River by using the research and demonstration gardens as ground zero for conversations about native foodways using the themes of ancestry, extinction, biodiversity, and diversity. The project asks questions not only of the paleo history of the foodways, but also it asks us about plant growth patterns, ecology in the region, and it asks us to find meaning in these questions in our present and future landscapes as well. So we will utilize both an academic and artistic methodology of oral traditions and enactment to embody the project. I find that these traditions uphold the dissemination of knowledge, which is what we were talking about earlier, about our regional history, and may in turn perpetuate continuous cycles of regeneration and evolution. So we're planning an encounter with the Center for American Archaeology in Campsville, Illinois. And we're here to develop programming, and through the spring, we also will have a demonstration garden here at Cahokia. And we look forward to partnering with many of you in the next few months to come. Thank you.